What's up, everybody? This is Shots from the Winchester podcast brought to you by Greencastle Consulting. I'm your host, Al Green, and today we're having an awesome, fun conversation with a guy who has awesome beard game. His name is Sean Wallace.
How's it going, everybody?
Budget controller?
Yes.
You do budget control, you do process improvement.
Yep. Yeah, I'm the lead for the process improvement at Greencastle here, and working on the internal methods and systems that we have for that.
Nice, man. I mean, that's awesome. Yeah. And I'm, like I said, I'm new here. I've been here for maybe 6 months now. So I'm getting to know a lot of people. I'm getting to know more people here, and I'm getting to know more about the processes that we do here too. So I'm glad to have a conversation with you. So you're a tequila guy.
Yep. I sip bourbon, mix gin, and shoot tequila.
So we're going to do, what is this, Terramana?
Yeah, I've never had that one before, but it's a small batch tequila, reposado. So, we'll give it a shot, see what happens.
Let's see what happens here. Yeah, and it's very early in the morning, just so everybody knows.
Yeah. Haven't even had my second coffee yet.
Right. Well, did I give you more?
Yeah, it's all good.
All right, brother.
All right, cheers, man.
Cheers. Whoops, I didn't bang it.
It's not bad.
Wow.
Yeah, it's got some good flavor to it.
I was expecting that to hit weird, but that was good.
Yeah. Yeah, nice and smooth.
Yeah. So let's talk about you. Let's talk about, first of all, your awesome beard.
Thank you, thank you. Been growing it since the day I got out.
Honestly, like I can't do it. It won't come in. Like I have these little patches right here.
Yeah.
Nothing else will come in. So all I can do is do like the evil spot, the evil, you know what I mean? The goatee. It's it. That's
I was worried about that when I got out. I was like, man, I've been wanting to grow a beard for forever. And like, what if I get out and can't?
I know. It was funny when I got out. Before I got out, actually, I asked the CO if I could grow my hair out a little bit. So, because I was going to get locks again when I came out. I had no Article 15s. I had no issues with me. I was awesome at my job. So he was like, sure, just keep it tight and up, and you're good. I'm like, all right.
That's awesome when you find a good officer that's able to, kind of like, use some judgment and be like, all right, man, I got you.
My guys in the motor pool weren't that happy because I was rocking the Craig Mack, and they were like, well, how are you allowed to do that? I'm like, talk to the CO.
All you got to do is try and get out of the Army,
Exactly.
For the low, low price of becoming a civilian.
Speaking of the Army, like, I saw that you've been all over the place. You've been in Iraq, you've been in Kuwait, you've been in Afghanistan as well.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about your service.
Yeah, so, went active duty after I graduated college and commissioned as a second lieutenant. Went down to Fort Benning for armor school, the reconnaissance course, and then blew my back out trying to get through Ranger school. Went on to Fort Riley, Kansas, where I was a platoon leader, tank platoon leader. Wow. Deployed to Kuwait, within 2 or 3 weeks of getting there, took over the company executive officer position for our sister company. And then while we were shortly thereafter is when ISIS was getting real squirrely in Iraq. So we got sent forward to do an advise and assist mission with the Iraqi army. And we were the first, official U.S. Forces forward since the height of the invasion, in Iraq. And, we were out in Camp Taji just helping out the Iraqi army, kind of learn how to, fight the enemy and everything. So after that, I was back in Fort Riley, Kansas as a AS3 for a little bit before going on to the Military Intelligence Captain's Career Course down in Huachuca, Arizona. After that, moved on to Fort Stewart, Georgia, and subsequently the Hunter Army Airfield down in Savannah, Georgia, where I deployed to Afghanistan as the S2, which is the intelligence officer for an aviation battalion. We were combined arms, so we had the Apache Black Hawk and the Chinook, companies under us. So after that, I was back up in Fort Stewart as the Brigade AS2, Assistant Intelligence Officer. Spent some time up there. The back was getting worse and worse, and decided to see what the civilian life was like, and haven't looked back since.
Yeah. There's a consistency with people that get out of the military that don't have a plan. Did you have a plan when you got out?
Yeah, so initially, my older brother has a small business in the area. He asked if I would give him a little bit of time, help him get some systems and processes in place. So spent about a year working with him, just kind of helping establish those systems and processes, and then started applying out for some great and awesome jobs. And about 3 weeks later, the pandemic hit. And the only person that was growing during the pandemic was yours, and you know it. It's Amazon. Amazon was the only person growing, so that was the only place hiring. Knew the horror stories about managing warehouses, specifically with Amazon, but decided to give it a best shot. Stuck it out for about a year, a little over a year, and incredibly toxic facility. So started looking elsewhere. Greencastle was trying to poach my wife while she was getting out of the Army, which is how I learned about you guys in the first place. She was like, "You can't have me, but I think my husband maybe." So, heard about you guys, reached out to Jeffrey, and it's been history ever since.
Wow, that's awesome, man.
I was so skeptical, at first, because it's, everything that they tell you expect with this place. I'm like, man, it seems too good to be true.
Yeah.
And I've always kind of been waiting for that, other side to show. But the way I kind of encapsulate how I feel about the company to friends and family is that when I was in the Army, any time that there was a dining in, hail and farewell, anything like that, I looked for a reason not to be there. Hated, didn't want to be with my coworkers after work. Same thing with Amazon. Every time they tried to do extracurriculars, it was like, nah, not me. Now whenever Greencastle has an event and I can't make it, I'm like, oh man,
I know,
I want to go. So
they turn up.
Yeah, it's and it's just the camaraderie, the friendships that you build here. There's not a person in this building that I don't like, Some I like more than others, but there's nobody I dislike.
That's good stuff, man. And how do you feel that your military career informed how you work here today? So some people, they have a career in the military, but they can't transition that into civilian life. Have you been able to figure out a way to do that? It seems that the process improvement part of what you do here is kind of from what you did also in the military.
Yeah, initially when I got out, as an ex-tanker, it's like, man, civilians don't have tanks to play around with. So,
Right.
I've either got to use my intelligence with the, government level agencies or, something, I don't know. So, I didn't realize what kind of marketability that I had until, I got here. I was even skeptical about my own abilities coming to this place. I've only ever been, a tanker or an intelligence officer. Like, what do I have to offer the civilian world? But you get here and you realize it's stuff that we've always been doing. It's just been called something else. So
Right.
the process improvement is a perfect example. Process improvement, Lean Six Sigma. It's all about eliminating waste and making the process more efficient, more effective, all that good stuff. So reducing the defects and everything.
Trimming the fat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's exactly what we always did in the military. In the military, you typically change duty stations probably an average of every 18 months or so. You're probably in 2 jobs every duty station, so you're changing jobs every 2 months or so.
Right.
And every job you walk into, you're expected to immediately figure out what is wrong with that unit, whether it's a squad, platoon, up to a brigade. Figure out what's wrong with that unit, figure out how to fix it quickly, implement a plan to train, to fix it and get it up to speed and, fix the deficiencies. And then most importantly, codify that into some sort of a document that, we typically call a standard operating procedure, in the Army, and all in time to hand it off to the next guy coming in. So, it's what we do, day in and day out in the military, but now I've got fancy terms to put to what we were already doing. So while it was overwhelming, at first, I realized that there are, so many, parallels to what we do, how we do it in the military, and, how the civilian world operates as well. So definitely a lot of crossover, and one that I think that a lot of people don't realize.
Coming out of the military too, perks and benefits is one of the things that I took advantage of my GI Bill when I got out to go to school for what I do now, which is video production. But I noticed also that a lot of people don't take advantage of those different benefits, stuff like that. Like I haven't even taken advantage of my VA loan yet.
Oh, okay.
Which I'm kind of happy about to some extent because I'm looking to maybe get a duplex soon.
Interest rates right now are not great.
No,
so
I know.
using
I'm
that
waiting.
VA loan is going to help.
Hopefully, yeah. At least with like the down payment and everything else like that. Depending on if people are or want to use the, because there's a little pushback with the VA loan with different real estate agents and stuff like that because of, I guess it's the stringent technique in which they go through the house and find anything, which is a white glove process, which is, I wish when I bought my last house, because there were some soft walls, So
so typically banks will go through, they've got to make sure that their investment is protected. I've learned a lot over the years dealing in real estate, buying, selling, flipping. I've had rentals. I've been in and out of real estate, constantly. Got my real estate license just to understand the the process better. Never actually practiced or anything, but the bank needs to protect their investment. But you're right, the VA goes above and beyond to protect that investment. It's a pain in the butt, but it helps protect us. They are going to be going through with a white glove. They aren't going to give you any cuts or breaks or anything like a normal bank would. But at the end of the day, they're protecting you. You're getting a good interest rate. You can get in for little to no money down without suffering that interest rate. You can only ever have one active at a time, but it's definitely something to take advantage of. You can use it for rental properties as long as you're residing there as your primary residence. For an undetermined amount of time. There's no real, unless they've updated it recently, there's no real rule on how long you need to reside there as your permanent residence. So there are some loopholes that guys will play with, putting that as their permanent residence and living somewhere else and renting it out, which I would not recommend. But it's a different process than most home buyers are used to. Not significantly, but enough so that you should do a little bit of research heading into it.
Yes. Yeah. Definitely taking advantage of benefits. Especially there's things that I forget about, like going to Home Depot. Home Depot has a huge, well, I think it's like 10%.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, right?
That's awesome.
So I'm always over there buying whatever I need. So I signed up for that recently. But sometimes I think what I do is because of myself, I I like to get on by my own merits.
Yeah.
Not for any benefits based on anything except for that. And so sometimes I get a little bit like, oh yeah, I'm taking advantage of my veteran thing, but that was part of the deal. You got benefits because of your service to the country.
Exactly.
And so definitely don't be embarrassed to use any of those services because they are available and they're beneficial, especially for your family and yourself. So
absolutely.
Definitely good look.
And I kind of had that mentality, looking into the VA disability. I've got constant pain in my back. I've got no hearing left. I've got issues out the wazoo, and I'm like, well, I never got in like a crazy gun battle or anything. I never got blown up. Like I don't deserve, But then I, talking with a VA rep one day, he was like, we've got guys that are getting, dropped from basic, because they're overweight and can't work out, and they're getting 100%. So like,
wow.
You have done more, than enough, and a lot of veterans have that mentality of like, well, somebody's had it worse, so I don't deserve it, and it's not about like gatekeeping. It's not about, who saw worse or who did more or anything like that. It's about, you signed up, you agreed to do, the job. They've got systems and processes in place to say, hey, for doing this job, when you get out, like we're going to take care of you in X, Y, and Z way, as long as you're, a decent, human being and do what you're supposed to in the military and stuff.
Right.
And speaking towards like the not knowing of some benefits out there, I didn't know that vocational rehab through the VA was an option. So when I got out, I'm big into woodworking. I already had a degree, figured, why not? Like, why not use my VA or my post 9/11 GI Bill and go to carpentry school, kind of learn, I've learned everything I've learned from YouTube, so I was like, might as well learn the right way to do things. So used to go through there and then use that up, and then shortly after I was like, man, I should have used that for a master's degree. So I was like, well, that's going to come out of pocket eventually. But then I was talking to one of my buddies, and, vocational rehab is for, veterans that are in a career path that does not fit their abilities based off of their disabilities. So I was managing a warehouse. I was on my feet for 12 to 14 hours a day. I've got severely messed up back, and it was brutal. So reached out to the VA and just kind of started asking some questions, and they were like, yeah, absolutely. If you want something, that will set you up for more of like a desk job, tell us why, tell us how, and we'll get you the money,
Wow.
And it's an amazing, opportunity. If you do have the post 9/11 GI Bill, they're going to tap into that first.
Yeah.
But once that dries up, they'll cover the rest of it. And if you want to get some certifications while you're in that, while I was in the master's program, if I wanted to get Lean Six Sigma or something, I could make the case to my case officer and say, hey, listen, I was looking at some jobs. This one said, that they're looking for somebody with Lean Six Sigma. I think that is going to make me more marketable to the workforce. And they would check into it, say, all right, go ahead, we'll pay for it. So definitely a really good opportunity for veterans out there. Something to keep in mind.
That's really good. That's really good. And you mentioned woodwork.
Yes.
So you've done a few projects here for Greencastle. I know you did a wood piece, and we'll show you the photos and the video actually, because you've made a few things. You've done the wood piece, which is the logo for Greencastle, which is in the front now.
Yep.
And you also did a cabinet.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't want to say it wrong.
Hidden storage.
Hidden storage.
Hidden storage. So. When they approached me about making the sign, we had a couple different people with a couple of different ideas, and you couldn't really come to a consensus. So I made 2 mock-ups of like what could work, and once they kind of made their decision on what path they wanted to go on, I was like, man, these mock-ups are kind of nice to just throw away. Like, how can I repurpose this?
Yeah.
So I figured, I was like, you know what, let me make like some hidden storage. So, I took them, mounted them on to, a box that I built. Used an RFID locking mechanism, some hinges, and, yeah.
That's smart, man. I like that.
Yeah, so there will be 2 of those, the sign on the front desk, and then I'm making a replica of the front desk one.
Nice.
That will be mobile. It's going to be assembled and held together by acrylic 1-inch rods with magnets attached to the end of the rod, and then magnets inside of the hole that was bore out. So it'll just all click together. So when Greencastle's out representing at an event, maybe the Eagles game, because they got those box seats now, or the suite or whatever we're calling it. Take it out there and let them know who we are and represent.
That's a good idea, man.
Yeah,
I like that. I like that a lot. Last thing I want to get into, and actually probably one of the most important things I want to get into, is that you just got married.
I did.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And it's not just like one of those, like, not to put down, the average wedding, but you went to New Orleans, right?
Yep.
And you got married by a voodoo priestess.
We did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Shelby and I aren't really religious. We knew that we wanted a small event. So we agreed that we were going to elope. We were kind of kicking around ideas. I was thinking, do the cliche, like go to Vegas and get married by an Elvis impersonator.
Yeah.
But we've both always wanted to get to New Orleans and hadn't, so we decided to do that. And I was like, the only way I'm going to do it is if we can find a voodoo priestess down there to marry us. And she was like, sold. So then we started looking at like, who we're going to invite, and we're like, well, we got to have a best man and a maid of honor and blah. So like, we've got to invite this person, but if we invite them, we got to invite this person. So within like 5 minutes, we had like 20 people on our list, and I was like, stop. Nope, but we're going to simplify this.
Right.
My NCOIC from Afghanistan, or right-hand man in Afghanistan, is now a professional photographer down in Savannah, and we're still very close with him and his wife. And I was like, he's going to come. Caleb's going to come as the photographer. He's got a company called I Am Candid Photography. He's going to be our guy. And Eileen, his wife, is going to be our witness. We've got to have a witness. Nobody can argue about them being invited and not being invited. Like, are you a photographer? No, then shut up.
Yeah.
Or, and like she, she's obviously going to be coming with him. So like 2 birds with 1 stone. I was like, nobody else is invited. Like no family, it's just them. So, they came down. He did an amazing job with the photography. You know, she was awesome, you know, really helped, you know, Shelby getting ready and, you know, keeping her nerves calm, keeping her drink filled, you know, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And, you know, we had a lot of fun. You know, it was very different. You know, we were in mostly black and, you know, purple accents.
That's awesome.
You know, we used a lot of smoke bombs for the photography.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure that you're going to throw some of these up
these
at the end,
yeah.
so get you some of the pictures. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. We loved every second of it. And then once we got home, and you know, a couple months later, we did a mock reception. You know, with friends and family, just come hang out, eat, drink, have a good time, so that everybody got an opportunity to celebrate in a low stress atmosphere where they didn't have to, you know, get dressed up. They didn't have to buy, you know, crazy presents. They just had to show up, have some drinks, and have some food and go home.
Yeah, I used to shoot weddings a lot, and I saw that constantly, money just flying out the door.
Yeah.
The moment you say wedding, the birthday cake basically that you buy turns from like $30 to $200.
Yep.
So it's like, yeah, it's a whole racket there.
But most of the people don't want to sit through some ceremony and watch it. Like, they just want to celebrate. They just want to party. You know, I'm not going to make you sit through a church ceremony or anything. You know, just come, show up, have some fun, celebrate us, forget about the rest.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this was great having this conversation with you.
Yeah, I had a blast.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Thanks
well,
again.
Thank you, Al. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
For sure. And guys, make sure you like and subscribe to Shots from the Winchester podcast. We're always uploading new episodes every Tuesday at 11. So check us out. Have a good one.
Same.